Hello, everyone, and thank you for joining. We can start, and thank you for joining from the waiting room. This is our weekly platform trial update. This is Sabrina Paganoni. I'm speaking from the HEALEY Center for ALS and Mass General, and I'm here with Jessie, our administrative assistant, who's kindly helping every week to bring the webinar to your homes. So if we can go to the next slide. As you know, for those of you who are new, as you know, if you've been following us, but for those of you who are new, we have a common protocol to test multiple drugs. And it's because of this common protocol and central governance that we have been able to gain some operational efficiencies and scientific efficiencies so that we can test under the same roof, we can test multiple regimens. And when we say regimen, we mean active study drug and a matching placebo. So recently, we were enrolling for participants for regimens F and G, and we recently completed enrollment in these regimens, which is very exciting. Next slide. Every regimen, whether it was one of the first regimens that joined the trial or the most recent regimens, is tested following essentially the same principles. Each regimen is tested to provide a go, no-go decision so that we can rapidly screen drugs in or screen them out and decide whether they're worth further testing or not. And from the point of view of a participant, whenever someone enters the platform trial, there is an initial placebo-controlled period, meaning that for the first 6 months of the study, the participant will not know if he or she is receiving active drug or placebo, and the randomization ratio is 3-to-1 in favor of active, meaning more people receive active treatment than placebo. And then at the end of this placebo-controlled period, there is a period of active treatment extension where everyone who completes the 24 weeks is eligible to receive active treatment extension long-term. And during both periods, we test a number of outcomes, including function, which is functional changes accounting for survival are our primary endpoint in the placebo-controlled period. That's really what allows us to determine whether a drug is effective or not. But we also collect much more information from each regimen because we want to learn more about the drug, both in terms of the effects on muscle function, respiratory function, biomarkers, and a number of other novel biomarkers or digital tools. So we have a comprehensive evaluation of each drug. Next slide. And the first milestone for us to even, to take things to the next step is really to complete enrollment in each regimen. And we recently announced the completion of enrollment, as I said earlier, in regimen F and regimen G. This is an important milestone because it means that we have enrolled or included all participants in the placebo-controlled period of the trial. And now all these participants are being followed for those 6 months that are the placebo-controlled period of the trial. And so we cannot begin to analyze the data until all of these people have gone through the placebo-controlled period. So that's sort of what dictates the timelines. We need to first enroll everyone, and we are there. So thank you so much for all your efforts and for participating in this trial. This is obviously the first critical step to enroll all participants. But now another very important job starts, which is to follow all of these participants for at least 6 months in the placebo-controlled period of the trial. And some of those participants have already moved on to active treatment extension, but because they joined the trial at different times, everyone is a little bit at a different step in the process, because some people have already completed the placebo-controlled period of the study and other people just started that. And so they need to complete the 6 months and everyone really needs to complete the 6 months before we can start to analyze the data. Next slide. So what that means also is that at this very moment, we do not have additional spots in the platform trial. Now we're working with several potential partners, and we're hoping to open new regimens soon. That said, right now, this summer, we won't have more spots for new participants because, again, our focus right now is to follow the participants who have already been included in regimen F and regimen G. So the question that we get at times is, what other options there are? And so I want to share the links to other groups that are offering information about what other available trials there may be. Obviously, the platform trial is not the only trial. It's good that we have many different companies and groups working collaboratively to bring new trials to the community. And so I would recommend that you check out these links if you are interested in a trial but are unable to join the platform trial right now, because again, we don't have spots available right now. I would say that many of these tools are, easy to navigate, and in particular, the ALS TDI Trial Navigator and the ALS Signal are, I think, easy to navigate for people living with ALS, and they can be quite helpful in helping people to identify trial opportunities in addition to the platform trial. That said, we are also working on new regimens, and so those will come online in a few months. Next slide. So there's also a series of other initiatives that are ongoing in the ALS community in addition to the platform trial. And so there's platform trials, there's other clinical trials, but also even beyond that, there are other initiatives that are equally important. So I want to draw your attention to All ALS, or Access for All in ALS Consortium. That's an exciting NIH-funded large initiative that includes many of us at the Healey Center, but also many other colleagues and many other institutions. It's an amazing new consortium that has very ambitious biomarker goals and transformative goals to learn more about the disease so that we can develop new drugs. The consortium will start enrolling participants over the next few weeks, and it's going to be available at over 30 sites in the US. So if you're interested in learning more about this important activity that's going on nationwide with the goal of having a really broad and impactful data capture across the country, please don't miss the webinar that's been offered on May 16th by NEALS. NEALS is the Northeast Consortium, ALS Consortium. It's a consortium of sites that participate in trials and other important research initiatives such as All ALS. And so if you go to the website of NEALS, you can use the QR code if helpful. There is a whole section about educational webinars, and even the past ones have been recorded. So there's a variety of topics ranging from symptom management, clinical care, new drugs, new trials, a number of previously recorded webinars, and in particular, there's some new that are coming up that I want to highlight here. So one is the All ALS webinar that's happening on May 16th. And also on May 8th, I will work with our colleagues, Dr. Terry Hyman-Patterson and Dr. Kelly Guatmi, to discuss the ALS Better Care Act, which is a bill that's been proposed a bipartisan bill proposed in both the Senate and House to improve multidisciplinary care reimbursement, support multidisciplinary care so that all people with ALS can benefit from this type of intervention. So that's another webinar that's coming up. I think as we discuss clinical trials, we also don't want to forget the importance of what we can do today to support clinical care. And so this is another important topic. So I just wanted to offer that because while, again, trials open and close and different opportunities come and go, but I just want to highlight that there's many other large scale initiatives, important initiatives that I think are going to have a big impact in the field in general, in addition to trials. Next slide. So there's lots of different research options. We spoke about trials, we spoke about biomarker consortia or other initiatives. I do want to spend a minute here to talk about expanded access or compassionate use. That's another opportunity for people who are not eligible for clinical trials. And we recently revamped our EAP webpage and set of resources. So we're very, very proud of this, especially because they were directly informed by our EAP Patient Advisory Committee and many advocates who have been so nice and generous with their time, reviewing content, providing suggestions, adding topics that they all felt were important from a patient perspective. And so you can see the product of that work on our new website. We have newsletters, we have new initiatives. So even if you've been there in the past, please check out the new page. We have more information about expanded access. Next slide. And on that topic, we're very excited to announce that we have enrolled the first few participants in the two new NIH-sponsored expanded access protocols that have been supported by ACT for ALS. So you may have be familiar with those programs. We recently announced that we enrolled the first few participants in the two programs that we manage at the Healey Center, specifically the EAP for predopidine and the EAP in collaboration with RAPA Therapeutics. So the links are on our website as well. Next slide. And on the topic of EAPs, we're very excited that next week, May 9th, we will have an EAP discussion with Sean Sarbacher from Tech versus ALS. He has been spearheading new models to bring more access to EAPs to the patient community. This has already been very successful, so I think it's important that we raise awareness about Tech versus ALS and similar initiatives and how we can bring research opportunities to people, whether they are EAPs or clinical trials. We're all thinking creatively about new models. And so this is going to be an interesting discussion. And as always, you can sign up for our ALS link, which is a newsletter. Every time we have a press release or a big announcement, we send them out via the ALS link. So if you want to receive all these updates sort of directly, instead of having to kind of go on our website and look them up, I would say that the ALS link is a great tool to stay informed. So thank you so much for that. And I see a few questions, and thank you for sending them. I know I received one by email and also now in the chat, so thank you so much for sending that. So the question is, it's very exciting that you have finished enrollment for regimens F and G, and thank you for the comment. Yes, absolutely, that's absolutely critical. But then the question is, we were told that at some point there would likely be an expanded access program for these regimens. And so the question is, where do Calico and Denali stand, the companies that manufacture the drugs for regimens F and G, in terms of offering EAP programs? So we had both companies. So Calico funds the regimen F and Denali regimen G, and they were on this webinar a few times, and I'm sure they'll come back. And so they're still evaluating whether to start an expanded access program. I would say that this is still sort of a topic in the field. You know, when is the right time to start an expanded access program? I think there's no universal answer. Obviously, we have been advocating for as early as possible, and that's why we have started a number of expanded access programs at our center, and also thanks to NIH, we've been able to expand that in collaboration with many other centers as well. So I would say that there is definitely a rationale for doing this as soon as possible. And again, it's an open dialogue and still ongoing, so I don't have a final answer on that, but certainly something that we keep bringing up. So there's a good question about access to the recordings of these webinars and access to the slides. So everything is posted on the website. And so maybe I'll ask if, Jesse, you have a chance to maybe put the link in the chat. I know, oh, actually, I already see that, Jesse posted a number of links in the chat. That's very helpful. And then if you can go on our website, you can also find the copies of the slides and all the QR codes that we have on the slides. If you use your phone, whether you do it live or you do it, you can pause the recording and point your camera. It works. Actually, I tried that myself. It does work, and it brings you to the right websites of all the links if you check the slides or the recording. So good question about what happens to participants once they complete the placebo-controlled portion of the study. The question is, will they learn whether they've been on the trial drug or placebo? And second question is, if not, why not? And when are they going to be told that? So first of all, yes, the great question. Absolutely, we are committed to sharing treatment assignments, which means whether somebody was on drug or placebo. There are some specific regulations that dictate the timing of that. And so, first of all, we need to complete the trial. As I said earlier, the trial is completely blinded. We need to wait for everyone to finish the placebo-controlled portion of the trial before we can even analyze the results. We are blinded too. So like, I don't know who's on active or placebo, for example. Then on top of that, because this trial has an active treatment extension, we have to wait until we get to that point and we close the entire database to be able to release whether somebody was on drug or placebo. There is a scientific and regulatory rationale for that, which is that any knowledge of being on drug or placebo would affect the results if it's shared while the trial is still ongoing. That's actually the point. That's why we do placebo-controlled trials and we only analyze the results at the end. And we may want to actually bring back one of our statisticians who explained exactly the concept of placebo. We do have a previous webinar when that was explained, but let's refresh that and I'll ask if she can come back to explain that. But essentially, the short answer to your question is yes, we are going to tell everyone whether they are on drug or placebo, but we cannot do that until the trial is ongoing. So we can only do that at the end of the trial, which means both placebo-controlled trial and active treatment extension. I do want to mention that for people, for the previously completed regimens, we have been sharing, we already shared treatment assignments with participants. So people who participated in ABC, since those trials have been completely finished, they have received notification. Question about, time to enroll regimens F and G, and whether it was slow or fast. Well, I would say that it's incredibly fast, actually. So we basically filled both in 12 months, and I would say that each regimen is larger than the initial regimens. So the initial regimens in 2020, for example, A, B, C, D, and E, were approximately 160 participants. And as you know, regimens F and G are larger. So regimen F is 300 and regimen G is 240. So each regimen has become larger for a number of reasons to accommodate for differences in standard of care that has happened since we started the trial in 2020, and so that's why the regimens were larger. So it may look like it took a long time, but the reality is that actually it was a very efficient process, and in fact we're very pleased with that. And actually, thank you to everyone who volunteered. So question about RAPA, the difference between RAPA and Neuron, that's a great question. So I would say that there's something in common, that they are cell-based treatments. However, they're very different in terms of the way they act. And so they are completely independent. There are different types of cells, different mode of administration and monitoring and activity. I believe that there will be a webinar on RAPA. We are scheduling that. So certainly, we're going to have the scientists who develop the actual RAPA treatment to explain. So, but again, it's a completely different type of cell. It's different how you get the cells, how you process the cells, and the targets in the body. So it's a very different treatment. Okay, great. So I think I took all the questions that are in the chat today. Oh, sorry, there's actually one more that just came in. So the question about the pre-dopamine expanded access. So the first question is that already open? And yes, the answer is yes. We just announced that we have screened and enrolled the first few participants. We are opening this up at many sites. It's going to be available at 45 sites in the US. But as you may know, if you've been following this series, it takes some time to open all the sites. So the first few sites will be enrolling first, and then the entire network will open up. And that depends on administrative processes at different hospitals. In terms of the phase 3 trial, the predopidine was previously tested in the platform trial in regimen D, D as in David. And so that was closed, finished. We are actually finishing now the open label extension. And then based on the signal that was seen in regimen D of the platform trial, the company is pursuing a phase 3 trial, which I think is very important. Definitely we need to follow up on the data seen in the platform trial. And that was exactly the purpose of the platform trial, to serve as a rapid screening tool to facilitate the next steps. And in this particular case, the next step, in addition to the EAP, is the phase 3 trial. So that's in the planning phases. I don't have specific information about the exact timing, but obviously we hope it's going to happen very soon. Thank you for that question. Thank you so much, and we'll see everyone next week. Really excited again to have Tech versus ALS next week here to talk about innovation in access to research, including expanded access. Thank you very much. Bye.